So what actually happens to the versions of yourself that you just, well, left behind? You know, the lives you didn't live, the choices you unmade, the people you almost became. It's a pretty profound existential question, isn't it? And it's going to be our compass today as we navigate a truly surreal, almost mind-bending allegory. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving deep into The Last Peddler of Lost Causes, a brilliantly philosophical story by Max and Claude. Today, we're decoding its layered themes around regret, memory, and the incredible weight of the unlived life. It's a fantastic journey, so let's get right into it. All right, Part 1, The Peddler's Gray World. Okay, let's dive into this. We start off by meeting our protagonist, Silas. He's a 52-year-old guy, though he honestly feels ancient, dragging this broken-down cart through a declining, incredibly gray landscape. But to really get his journey, we have to understand his cargo. See, in this world, merchandise isn't what you and I might look for at, say, a weekend flea market. These items are entirely incidental to their own meaning. They're basically temporary vessels for human experience and internal states. Silas is essentially wandering through the decline of everything, selling things no one actually needs. Just look at some of the magnificently useless items in Silas's cart. We're talking porcelain thimbles from a city that literally forgot how to sew, 17 mismatched spoons engraved with the names of other people's weddings, an extinct music box, bottles of ink mixed in shades that correspond to forgotten feelings. Silas thinks he's preserving history, holding on to fragments of a world that just no longer makes sense. But as he's about to learn, he fundamentally misunderstands what he's actually selling. Moving right along to Part 2, The True Nature of Commerce. So everything changes the second Silas arrives at a town that's literally called Loss. Here, he runs into another merchant named Thorn, and Thorn completely shatters his worldview. He teaches Silas that in this universe, a transaction isn't about currency or cash at all. It's a deeper exchange of narratives. It's the swapping of stories about who we are and who we might have been. People aren't really buying objects. They're just desperately trying to find a safe place to put down all their emotional baggage. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive contrast between the two merchants. Silas is operating on this kind of naive philosophy where he believes he's selling objects with intrinsic value. But Thorn has a much more mercenary, but let's face it, accurate understanding. Thorn knows that a customer who buys a thimble is actually buying the story of the woman who never learned to sew. Customers just want permission to stop wanting. They want the story attached to an object so they can trade away a piece of their own past. Which brings us to Part 3, arriving at the terminus. Armed with this new, slightly cynical worldview, the roads inevitably route Silas to the absolute end of the line, the terminus. But this isn't just a physical town. It's a state of consciousness made physical. It's this highly structured, self-generating consensus where people come to negotiate with their past. Merchants here don't sell physical goods. Actually, scratch that. They do sell physical things, but they represent totally abstract concepts, jars of literal silence, specific experiences of time, memories that belong to other people. The whole shebang is an economy built entirely on human longing. To put the sheer emotional weight of this place into perspective, check out this one specific interaction Silas has. A woman comes up to his stall to return a snow globe she bought years ago, and inside this globe, it's a skeleton. She tells Silas that the globe worked perfectly. It made her remember a whole unlived life she had spent years trying to forget. But the memory of that unlived life just became way too heavy a burden to carry. She had to trade it back just to find some peace. I just want to pause here and let this evocative quote from the source material breathe for a second. The snow, the thing that falls and disappears and falls again, the only weather that's honest about being temporary. Wow. Through this, Silas realizes that people are desperately trying to cope with the temporary nature of human experience. They are absolutely drowning in their present moments. Let's move to Part 4, Reconciling the Abandoned Self. Silas eventually sets up a blank stall at this impossible intersection in the terminus, and organically, almost like magic, it transforms into the emotional center of the entire marketplace. So the crucial point is, why? It's because of what his customers are actually trading. They're bringing him their abandoned selves. This is the collection of selves you've rejected simply through the act of choosing a different path in life. Every time you make a choice, a different version of you is left behind, right? People are flocking to the terminus to try to buy back the innocence of those past selves or trade away the pain of having abandoned them. But then, Silas starts doing something completely unprecedented. See, the mysterious proprietor of the terminus designed this whole place to be a wound, The proprietor's goal is to maintain a system of perpetual dissatisfaction and endless seeking, because hey, that keeps the market running. But Silas's empathy creates a totally different outcome. Silas listens. He introduces reconciliation and healing simply by witnessing these people's stories.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how Silas accidentally subverts the entire economy of pain. Customers start coming to him to trade stories instead of just dumping objects. They realize their pain can be integrated, rather than just discarded and replaced. Silas completely shifts from being a peddler to a confessor and an archivist of human experience. He takes profound isolation and transforms it into genuine human connection. It's a real game changer.
And it is an incredible evolution. To put that into perspective, for 43 whole years, Silas was just a wandering peddler of useless goods. Then, within just 1 month at the terminus, he elevates to a confessor and priest of human narratives. And eventually, he becomes the literal metaphysical infrastructure of connection for an entire epoch. Talk about a career shift. Finally, we reach part 5, the next spiral. Because Silas introduced genuine healing into a system built on endless pain, the old terminus fulfills its purpose and just fades away. Silas walks out carrying the sum of all these transactions. It's this literal seed object. He realizes the world isn't trapped in an endless circle of suffering. No, it is a spiral. It's a larger pattern moving toward actual evolution. We can start over. Not with a blank slate, but with the full integrated knowledge and scar tissue of our past choices. So Silas takes this seed object to the very center point of the spiral. And in this beautifully abstract climax, he plants it. The seed germinates, creating a brand new collaborative marketplace. But here's the kicker. Silas doesn't run it. He actually dissolves into it. He becomes the roads, the language, the very architecture built entirely from his own empathy. He becomes the foundation that allows future generations to connect. Let's move to and see how this builds to the absolute core message of the source text. A new merchant in this newly formed marketplace realizes a profound truth. The only way to be fully alive is to acknowledge every part of yourself, the parts you chose and the parts you rejected. You absolutely cannot outrun your unlived lives. You have to integrate them to become whole. Which leaves us with this deeply personal thought to wrap up our explainer today. We are all carrying around abandoned selves. The choices we didn't make, the paths we didn't walk down. But instead of viewing them as a burden, what if we viewed them as a vital part of our complete story? So what stories will you tell about your own unlived lives? Think about that the next time you feel the weight of a past decision. Keep learning, keep reflecting, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.